Welcome to Ball and Chain Podcast. This is episode 190.
Oh, good God. That's way too many hours of our lives.
I am Mox Bornigan. I have with me It's My Angel.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm here.
This is
Full.
normally, like I said, this is where you normally say I'm cold.
That's what I said. I'm full.
Oh, you're full. Why are you full?
Because we went to P.F. Chang's.
P.F.
Delicious.
Chang's.
It's been a long time. Too long.
Yes, it was delicious. So we're here. We've got a pretty big show. Lots and lots to talk about.
I have nothing to talk about.
So we didn't just watch a season finale of one of our most favorite shows ever.
We did. I suppose we did.
Touche, salesman.
Where's
So
that from?
that is from Family Guy.
Oh, okay.
It's when the salesman selling him volcano insurance, and he goes, "Well, we've never had a volcano," and he goes, "Don't you think we're due?" And Peter's like, "Touche, salesman."
Gotcha.
Anyway, so yeah, we've got a pretty big show. Lots to talk about. Last week's show did not post for some reason. All my videos are failing to post or to export to YouTube. So
Peachy.
that's not cool. So our last episode 189 did not get to be posted. Luckily though, I was able to download a client that will pull the videos down from Twitch, which then I can re-upload them to YouTube, which is what I had to do for last night's podcast with Magic Face. So I apologize for for missing last week's, but the other thing I did notice is our video feed is a little more shaky, only because we're streaming to the internet and and saving our audio portion and saving the video portion onto my computer. So my computer is like, oh my God, please stop. Like, it's just chugging along. So we'll try to get this fixed, whether that means a new computer or something.
Yeah.
Dang, you like how I just slide that in there? Like, okay, well,
yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, so we're going to talk about our favorite shows that we've been watching this week. Also was able to rent Quantum Break, so we'll talk about that while our cat goes nuts in the background. Anyway, so you want to just start with Quantum Break real quick?
Sure. I haven't had a chance to see it or play it yet, so go for it.
So Quantum Break just came out last night, Tuesday night at midnight. I had a little bit of adventure getting it. I called Family Video to rent it because it's a single player game. I'm not really big on buying single player games just because I don't get a lot of replay value out of them. But anyway, called them and they had it, and I was shocked because they usually only get one copy of everything and it's usually gone like immediately. Anyway, I called him. I was like, "Hey, can you save it for me?" And the guy said, "Yeah, sure." So I went in there like 20-30 minutes later, and he had given it away to the person standing in front of me. So he promptly apologized. They didn't have any more in stock. So then I called the one down.
They got rid of your rental fee.
Right, they did.
Late fee,
Yeah,
nice.
they got rid of the late fee for the last. I think we were in a Jurassic Park or the Lego Jurassic Park for Eli. We had it over a couple. So he waived our $3 late fee. Woo!
Hey, it's better than nothing.
All right, it is better than nothing. So then I called over. I was like, well, crap, I'm never gonna find it because I was lucky to get this one, and I called the other one that was like 4 or 5 minutes down the street, and the lady's like, yeah, we've got it. We've got one copy in. And I was like, can you please save it for me? And I told her, like, my name's Joe. I'll be right there. I'm coming from the other Family Video. And she's like, yeah, sure. So I get in there, and she has it. And she tells me, she goes, what did she say? She said, oh, it's kind of fate that you were able to get this because, what's wrong?
Looking at that red warning thing underneath your recording.
Yeah, that's because my computer's not fast enough to run all this shit at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, she's like, it's kind of fate that you called because someone called immediately after you asking to rent the same game, and she told her that she had told them that they were out. So I was like, yay. But Yeah, so I got to rent the game for like 5 nights for like $2.50 because I had to open up a new account. So basically, like Family Video paid us to rent Alan Wake, which is awesome. Very
Alan
excited.
Wake.
Not Alan Wake. I'm sorry. Quantum Break. Sorry.
Gotcha.
You know what I meant.
Okay.
Anyway, so the game itself is actually a lot of fun. The game is fun. Third-person shooter. Kind of like very sci-fi-ish. It kind of has this whole like time. Not really. Well, I guess time travel. Not really time travel.
Time control.
Time
kind of
control like aspect to it. You get like from what I can tell, like I've gained like 4 or 5 abilities just by chance, like just by like being part of this experiment that went terribly wrong.
Yeah, didn't time basically break?
Yeah, um, which you can like he has the ability to slow down time, in certain areas. Like he can like basically you point your gun and you just throw down like a freaking time bubble thing in a general direction, and whatever it hits, it like creates a bubble that time is just like frozen. So you can like hit people with it, and they'll just like stop firing at you and just hold still, and you could just light them up. Um, I had my first puzzle, which was kind of neat. Basically, I had to climb on top of this like stack of boxes or whatever, and there was one of those accordion lifts. And when you would jump on it, it would collapse. You were just the weight was too heavy, so you had to like shoot your time
Stop time.
stop
The
time.
accordion thing, and then
Yeah, jump across or whatever. So, I mean, I guess I wouldn't really call it a puzzle. It was in the first level, so I imagine they're just trying to hey, you can use this besides killing people. You can use this in the environment too. Um, so it's kind of neat too because you can like wherever like there's like propane tanks or whatever, you can freeze the propane tank and then shoot it, and like you'll hear the tink and like the sound or whatever, and then the explosion will happen or whatever. Like because it's delayed or whatever. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's neat. Um, what else? You can create like a force field time bubble around yourself, so like nothing can like hurt you while you're in this bubble for brief moments. What's the other ability? You can like do this really sweet dash where you kind of like walking, you hit the left bumper, and he's like sprints like into a straight line, and he kind of disappears for a brief moment. So that's kind of cool. You can get, instead of like ducking in and out of cover, you can like sprint back and forth between covers. The AI is okay. I'm playing it on hard because I thought maybe that would create a challenge.
Okay.
They work together really well. Like they always try to surround you. Like there's always like if there's 4 guys, 2 of them are going to come up the center, and on each side. And they're going to try and get around you. Most of the firefights happen in open areas where there's cover and stuff, like cover, like pillars and like things you hide behind. They throw grenades really, really well. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Um, oh, the other cool thing is when you freeze time, you can actually like if you freeze somebody in time, you can walk up and take their gun from them. So like they don't have another gun in their hand. You can carry up to 3 or 4 guns, I think, a pistol and a couple like main weapons. Um, the graphics are okay. I don't know. In some places, it's really cool. Like when you kind of going in and out of like this slip space type of thing, where there's like everything's frozen around you. Things are like really broken, fragmented. That effect's really cool. The one thing, and I think you'll notice it too, like when you see it tonight, is it feels kind of grainy. Like, and I don't know if this is because like the first chapter is kind of like he's being interrogated, or he's going over like some events in his mind. So I don't know if that's just like a way to represent like, hey, this isn't real life. This is like a memory. I don't know, but it kind of you kind of look past it. But like once I powered it up, I'm like, ooh, this is kind of weird looking. Like the graphics are cool, but it's just like everything's got like this weird
Well,
film
and you
over it.
mentioned the frame rate was difficult to get past in the video sections.
Right. So like the first level is broken up into like 3 chapters. You play as the main guy, which his name is Jack, and his brother Will, who is, I don't know what the actor Charlie from Lost. That's the character he plays. Um, and then whoever plays Littlefinger from here, you interact with him like he's like your brother's partner or whatever, and they're creating this. I don't even know. I don't even know how to begin to explain it. It's a machine that you can go back in time or go forward in time, depending on which way you walk in this cylinder, in this ginormous time machine essentially. So something goes wrong, and basically the bad guy, which is Littlefinger, gets sent back in time and comes out, and basically he gains these like super awesome abilities because like the thing overheats and you try to open it up and it explodes, and that's what when all hell starts breaking loose. So essentially what you're looking at is you and your brother are trying to escape, and then once your brother ends up getting killed in the first act.
Don't give too much away.
I know.
It's a brand new game.
In the first act, your brother ends up getting killed by Littlefinger. I don't remember his name. You do, right? What's his name? What's Littlefinger's real name?
I don't know.
I thought you said his name like when we were.
I said his name in the show.
Oh. I thought you said his name. I don't know. Anyway.
I said his name, but his name in the show is not Littlefinger. That's his
Well, right.
I said Peter Baelish.
Baelish. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Game of Thrones name.
Sorry, I thought. Never mind. Dumb. So, anyway, you're playing through and you get all these abilities right up front. So, the one thing that I'm worried about is are you going to get new abilities? Is the game going to get stale as it goes on? So after you finish the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 1 is made up of act 1, 2, and 3. The last act you play as the bad guy, right? And it sets you up with this really this huge choice to make, which kind of starts the whole game. You make this choice to either do option A or option B, and if you do option A, you get live footage of the story option if you choosing option A. So it gives you like a 30-minute video of the repercussions of that and kind of going into that story from that point. So, and it kind of after you complete the level, it gives you a breakdown of what your friends chose and what the community chose and all that stuff. I'm happy to say that I'm with the community on this one. I chose to be the evil character and play the evil character and not leave any loose ends up. But the video it's kind of weird. I really didn't get too much into the video. I'll probably go back and watch it. Which is really cool. In the menus there's a timeline. It shows you each of the acts that you just played, and then it also shows you the video so you can see what happened. It gives you a brief description. So they went into this knowing that people will probably skip the videos and not watch all of them and just play the game. So they need to get that information, or people will watch just the videos and want to get the game, synopsis. So the videos are, I really, like I said, I didn't get too into it, but the quality is so, it's kind of like B film. The frame rate seemed to be between 30 and 45 frames a second. It just seemed a little choppy. So I don't know. The acting was good though. I mean, it seemed like a normal show that you would watch on TV. But I'm kind of sad that we don't get a high def version of it. There's some pixelation and stuff like that, and in the dark, when you've got a black shadow or whatever, there's some what's this, it's pixelation, I guess. So I don't know. I'm excited to play more of it. It's a lot of fun. Definitely a rental. Definitely not buying it. No multiplayer. Not worth buying. So yeah. So that is Quantum Break. We'll talk about some Walking Dead. Let's talk about Walking Dead.
I definitely would have more to talk about with that.
Oh, you will. So next week we can talk more about Quantum Break. So that after you play it, and we can kind of get into it a little bit. So if you haven't watched Walking Dead yet, now would be a good time to mute or
go away.
Go away. Go away, you. Go away. No, we can. I'm going to start putting timestamps in our shows so that we can.
We just lost somebody. They haven't watched Walking Dead.
No, we're back up to 3.
Back down to 2.
Oh, you must be the third person. I don't know. Whatever.
Anyway,
So what do you think? Let's talk about the episode first. So what happened in our episode?
I got a lot of nothing. It felt like it was an extended 90-minute episode, and kind of word on the internets was basically was we were going to get 90 or 60 minutes of show or 30 minutes of show, 60 minutes of commercial, and I didn't feel like it was overly run with commercial breaks, but I did feel like it was a very slow moving episode. But I think they did that for a reason. Basically the whole episode was our main group trying to get Maggie to Hilltop to get her medical care, because obviously she's having some abdominal pain. They said she was burning up with a fever. I don't think it has anything to do with miscarriage of the baby. I personally think it's like appendicitis or like her appendix burst or something along those lines.
Right.
Because like a spontaneous miscarriage wouldn't necessarily cause like instant pain, fever. I mean, she doesn't have an ectopic. They've already seen the baby in the ultrasound and all that. So my bet is something along like appendix or gallbladder or something along those lines. At any rate, so the whole episode revolved around them driving the RV and basically getting roadblocked by Negan's guys, and then finding another route and getting roadblocked and finding another route and getting roadblocked. So I mean, it was very it did feel very slow, but at each next route they would go, they'd kind of encounter more and more difficulty.
Like more people.
Either more people or the mound of trees that had been lit on fire, and then the guy that they first encountered, being hung, and the first group yelling at them. It was basically, and then the chain of zombies.
Right, that was
Zombie Red Rover.
Zombie Red Rover.
And some of them had pieces of their group embedded them. Like the one had some of Michonne's dreads like taped to her head, and then arrows from Daryl's crossbow through its gut. Trying to think if there's any other bits and pieces that we'd noticed, but basically the entire thing was a giant mindfuck.
Yeah.
So the episode is slow moving, but I think that's what it's supposed to get at. Basically the slow ramping up increase, this Negan, and they said it best on Walking Dead, he's the star of his own show.
Talking Dead,
yeah. Right. So basically Negan, this guy's he's the star of his own show. He's he thinks he's bigger than life, all of this, and this whole theatrical way to introduce himself, basically. Rerouting them, knowing exactly what routes they'd take, all these little mind games they played, and
it's very telling about how
corralling them into this one location.
It's very telling about the character.
Yes.
In a non-threat. I mean, not really non-threatening, because they were very threatening. Like a very passive aggressive, like.
He knew all of their. He made sure basically they knew that he knew all of their moves. He was always one step ahead of them. He has the numbers.
I don't even think those people moved. I think the day was Negan probably would have been like, he was like, all right, Group A, you're going to go here for today and just stand there the whole day.
Oh yeah.
And then another group's gonna have this road, another group's gonna have this road. So bring a lunch, kind of thing.
Right. But no, I thought it was very interesting. And Rick could have decided at any time to turn around and go home.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there was a group following them. Like in case that
they did say that. I believe there was one point in the RV when they were looking at the maps and everything, and Eugene said, "Okay, well, there's people here, there's people here, there's people here. We know we're at this point pretty much surrounded," which is when they decided to let Eugene take over the RV, and they got out and go through the forest,
right.
Which apparently Negan had also anticipated.
Right.
So, I don't know. He's a pretty smart guy. he's written to be very charismatic. He's his backstory. He's I believe a car salesman. So he's got that
Pushy attitude.
kind of pushy attitude, like, hey, like, you're gonna like me, and I'm cool, we're all best friends because you're gonna work for me, kind of
Your
thing.
shit's my shit now.
Right, like, but he makes it almost sound like it's your idea, like, you're just gonna give this to me, this is the way that things are, like.
Right. That didn't work out very well for our group. telling
Right.
telling Hilltop, like, hey, half your shit's now ours.
Right. So, I don't know. I had a hard time. I kind of understood where he was coming from. Yeah, he's very extremely violent. You know, his weapon of choice is Lucille, the bat wrapped with barbed wire. He takes pleasure in killing those people, but at the same time, he doesn't. He could have very well just wiped them all out.
Right, but he knows that in order for him to survive, he needs power
needs
in
workers.
numbers. Right.
Right. He needs little worker bees.
Well, right, and I think the other thing is, like, he knows that if there's like a at some point in time that there's a mutiny amongst his group, he needs to have more people to back him up. So, like, the more people he brings in, the better chance he has at having greater numbers. So
I don't know. He's definitely an interesting character, and the way he came out and explained himself. You came to my house basically and killed all my people. So we sent guys to come kill some of your people, and you killed them too.
Right, and I'm kind of pissed.
Right, and I can see his point on that. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'd be kind of pissed too. Like, they had done nothing to you at this point.
Well, and I think it's funny, and like Talking Dead is amazing. I think, and it's hilarious when they talk about, if I think it was Kirkman that was mentioning, if you started the show with Negan waking up in a hospital and getting to this exact point,
you wouldn't see him as the bad guy.
You wouldn't see him as the bad guy. You would see Rick as the bad guy because Rick has done some fucked up shit.
Right, they're almost like parallels of each other.
Right.
In different ways. I mean, obviously there are differences.
Negan's just better at
Negan's
it.
Rick,
Negan's just a better Rick.
I don't know.
He's
about
got
that.
more followers. He's better.
I mean, Rick still has, and I'm not saying that Negan doesn't have any humanity left to him. He is very, but I mean, we've seen Rick tear out a guy's neck with his teeth. I mean,
You've seen Eugene bite somebody's crotch. What's worse, biting out someone's neck or biting out someone's crotch?
true. But I don't know.
I think it was a really good episode. We also, before we get to the end, I
Yeah,
enjoyed.
we're skipping over the whole Morgan and Carol.
Right,
thing, too.
Morgan and Carol had their own little thing where, like, last episode, Rick went back to Alexandria, but before he left, he gave Morgan his gun and let him continue on looking for Carol. Well, Morgan, this episode, actually catches up with Carol. She's in a library.
She's injured.
She's injured, bleeding out. He patches her up, says, "Hey, we need to get you to go back." I think she dozes off or something like that, and he leaves and kind of clears out some walkers or whatever in the front of the library. And when he goes back into the library, she's gone. So then he hops on his horse and chases her down.
Meanwhile, she's getting the shit kicked out of her.
Right. Meanwhile, she, the one savior that's chasing her down has caught up to her and shoots her in the arm a couple times and says, "I'm going to kill you, but you're going to suffer first." He knows he's going to die.
He shoots her in, I think, the arm once and the leg once. I think.
Right. Yeah. So basically, I mean, what he was hoping was she's going to start begging for her life or whatever, and that's not the case whatsoever. She's just like, "I deserve to die.
Yeah. Kill me, let it be over.
Kill me, let it be over." Blah 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 blah. But and he kind of gets a little frustrated, and then he goes to put a shot in her head, and Morgan steps up and says, pulls out his gun, or Rick's gun, and says to tell him to drop it. Blah blah blah, and he's like, "No, not today," or something like that. And Morgan actually kills the guy before he shoots Carol, which is a huge step for him, like considering where he came from and
Yeah, all life's precious and
right,
rehabbing everybody basically.
right. So that to me that makes it,
I don't think he had a choice in that. I mean, Carol was gonna die. That guy was
Right.
gonna pull the trigger. If he wanted to save Carol, that guy was gonna have to die.
right. So I don't know. And then It's from, you said the group is called the Kingdom in the comics. The guys on on the horses with the armor or whatever.
If that is them, yes.
So
And that's the speculation going around, is that those are the people from the kingdom. I don't know if one of them is Ezekiel, who's the leader.
mhm.
Um,
But
they're-
they ride up in this, and they kind of extend friendship to Morgan, and he's asking for help. So that's where they take him back to wherever they're from. We don't
we think
and
they
that's
do. We don't
right.
know that.
Yeah, that we don't know that. I mean, they're not dressed as wolves. They're not dressed as saviors. They're riding horses. So it's almost like they're from some type of like.
They have entirely different armor.
Yeah, they got different armor on. So it's almost like they're from some type of like Renaissance festival type of thing or whatever.
Well, the guy that, according to the comics, the guy that plays Ezekiel, if this is that group, he is their leader. They call him the king.
Mhm.
He has a pet tiger named Shiva,
Sweet.
and he was a former zookeeper. So I don't know a whole lot about their whole philosophy on things,
Mhm.
but it definitely would be interesting to see if they are how and if they put this pet tiger into play.
Well, they've had horses. What kind of animals? They've had horses. I think that's about it, right? Horses are about the only thing they've had on the show.
Squirrels,
Oh my God, squirrels! Squirrel.
but there's been some dogs,
Yeah, there has been some dogs.
but a tiger, I don't know how. I mean, AI just always looks so fake.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. So yeah, that was an interesting little section.
I don't think we'll see them until probably a mid-season finale next
Really,
season.
I think they're gone for a minute.
I think they're gone for a hot minute.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And then the end.
In the end.
What was the hashtag? Who is it?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Who was it? So, in the end, they basically, as Rick and let's see, who was it? Rick and Abraham, Glenn, Carl, Maggie.
Glenn wasn't with them.
Glenn wasn't with them.
Glenn was in the
You're right. Glenn was with
Crate.
in the crate. Sasha? No. Yes. Sasha was with them.
Yeah.
I think that was about it.
right.
I don't think
Eugene got captured.
Eugene got captured, but he was
the
so
RV.
basically, those guys were running through the forest, and they hear the whistle, the cat, not the cat call, but the
Yeah.
savior call.
Doo-doo, or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, they run out, and like all the lights turn on, and like they just realize that they're completely surrounded by like hundreds of people, and Eugene's on his knees. They see the RV, so they've captured Eugene, and they open up the trunk of this one
Or this
truck.
crate or
Yeah, it's like
something. I don't know
it's
what
like
it
a truck that they open up, and they open up a crate that's in there, and they have Glenn, they have Daryl, they have
is.
Michonne and
Rosita.
Rosita. They all come out, and then they get them all on their knees in a line in front of the RV. And they have like this huge introduction of Negan, which is kind of
Right.
weird.
He comes out. He steps out of the RV like this big.
He's a badass.
Yeah, he comes out. Basically, tells his whole reason for why he's doing what he's doing.
Right.
You're gonna give me your stuff in exchange. We're not gonna kill the rest of you.
Right. I'm going to kill one of you. One of you is going to get an ass beating with Lucille.
Yep.
And so he's sitting around talking about all of them or whatever. Talks a lot to Rick, and he talks a lot to Carl. At one point in time, Glenn kind of breaks down when he's pointing the bat at
Maggie. He says, "You look like shit," basically.
Right.
And I think Glenn realizes she's ill or she's injured or something, and
Right. So so basically he addresses it. So Negan addresses that immediately and says, I will not handle that again.
yeah,
So
you get one free one.
you get one free one. So, don't mind the cat. Just kind of hanging out, kitty. Don't knock those cars over, please.
Anyway, back to what we were talking about. So they
play it up, and he
basically chooses one. He's like, I don't know how I'm gonna choose because you
eeny,
guys are
meeny,
all
miny, mo, right?
right.
Or
So
my mother
eeny-
once told me, or something like
yeah.
that.
He eeny meeny miny mows his way around. And we see it is, and there's a lot of switching. They made it so that we really couldn't figure out, they thought, okay, well, people are going to sit and look at, the order of who's sitting where. They're going to go by word and figure out who it is.
Which he didn't go word by word, though.
Right, which is why they mixed it up so that people couldn't figure it out. They don't want people to know who he killed.
Right.
So, yeah, basically it goes around. You see faces kind of flashing. People get skipped by words. So you don't know where he lands.
Right.
And it switches back to that first-person view, which we were getting in between, switching between Rick's group and Carol and Morgan. You were getting these little glimpses, like a first-person view of someone looking out a box. You get the little pinpricks of light. So we knew we were getting a first-person view. So it switches back to that first-person view, which some people think that's telling us who it may be, one of the people in that crate to begin with, because we were already seeing through their eyes. Whether or not that's the case, I have no idea. But so it goes back to first-person view. You see him take a swing. Everything goes black. And then you see him kind of come back in. You see the blood trickle down your face.
And he's, laughing about it.
Right. And he says, you're, what does he say? You're a strong one. Basically, the person who gets hit stands up.
Right.
So we know it's somebody that could take a big, somebody strong that could really take a hit.
Do you think he stood up? I don't think they stood up.
I think someone said that they stood up.
I'll have to go back and watch again. I don't think he stood up.
I think he's a pretty
tall
guy, though,
If you can stand up from taking a hit from a bat like that,
that's
just
what
a
happens
bat.
in the comic, though, too.
Glenn stands up?
I think so.
Really?
Anyway, then he continues to bludgeon him. You hear the successive hits.
Right.
People screaming in the background as the
goes
screen goes black.
And more blood comes down.
And we have no idea who it is.
Right.
Which really, quite frankly, pissed a lot of people off.
Right.
Although, again, Robert Kirkman made, Scott Gimple made a pretty good explanation, I guess, or case as
Saving
to why
grace.
he did it. Yeah. He said that's the end of his story. This whole season 2B story was about Rick's crusade out to get the saviors and all the things that kind of repercussed from that, and sorry, I got distracted. All of the things that came from that, and that's what that story's about. They met Negan. End of that story. The next story will be about who was killed and what effects that had on the group.
Right. So this is kind of generating that's the funny thing is, if you look on social media, the very first gut reaction to everybody was, I'm not watching the show ever again, which is bullshit, because that's not why you watch a drama show. You watch a drama show because it's entertaining. But the conversation after that was excellent. So my little group that we were talking about, they were saying, they were trying to digest who was saying, who was sitting where, and the any, mini, miny, mo type of thing. And they also went back and listened to who was screaming, because you can hear a couple people. By process of elimination, he didn't beat the shit out of Carl or Rick, because he says if he gets up, tear out his other eye and feed it.
If anyone gets out, take out the kid's other eye and feed it to the dad or something. Feed it to him. Yeah.
Which is really demented. That is demented.
It is. But so that, okay, he's not beating Carl because his other eye is still intact.
Right. Let me pull my bat out so you can tear out his eye and feed it to his dad.
Right. And that he's not obviously killing Rick, because how could you feed an eyeball to the dead person?
Right.
Well, you could if it's a zombie. Anyway.
That's very true. That is really true.
It is. He wouldn't care, though, if you fed it to him.
Right.
So
some people think that it's Daryl because because he's got
reasons.
Multiple reasons. One's because he's got a new show on AMC, which is completely bullshit because they've already recorded it. But two, they think it's a good way to shake up the series. He's lived out his welcome, which I don't think so. Not if people still like him. I don't know. I think Carl, Rick, and Daryl are all safe.
I do like Daryl. I don't want to see him go. However, I don't know what story. I feel like he's had his full story. I don't know what else there is to tell about Daryl.
I think he cares. I think his relationship with Carol is too strong to let them not say goodbye to each other or anything like that. Or
don't know. You never got to see Maggie and Beth say goodbye to each other.
Yeah, that's true. That sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's Maggie. The reason why I think it's Maggie is, well, I particularly don't really care for the character, but
Oh, I like Maggie.
just because she's pregnant doesn't mean anything.
I don't like her
don't-
just because of that reason, but I do
don't-
like her.
Don't really care for the character that much. But anyway, I think, but based on what Scott Gimple was talking about on Talking Dead, how this is the start of a new story, and this is going to kind of throw everybody for not a loop, but like kind of we're going to see some real character development here. I just can't. Every time I come back to it, I always say, if Maggie were to die, first of all, what would that do to Glenn? He's already kind of in the feel bad mode because he just had to kill a human being or several human beings in the radio tower thing, and he's not about that. So that would send him into this like deep depression, which has got drama written all over it. Rick,
She's sick and she's weak, so she's not a whole lot of use right now to Negan.
right. So that's the other thing is so Negan looks at this group and says, "Okay, I've got a young kid, a leader who's a cop. I've got a young kid, not I guess Glenn, who's able-bodied. I've got a soldier that is in Abraham and Sasha. Or not Sasha.
I've got a lot of people who can do stuff. They're
Right.
strong and they're
And I have this pregnant chick, which I don't know if he knows she's pregnant or not.
probably not.
Well, he might because, their surveillance has been really, he called out, like, we know where you live. We know you got the nice little gated community. And when we come knocking, you're going to open your door. But, so he very well could know that she's pregnant. But anyway, he's looking like, oh, well, you're sick.
Yeah.
I can't use you.
Yeah, you look
I'm
like
gonna
crap.
say right. You look like crap. Obviously, when I kill you, that guy down there on the end, pointing at Glenn, is gonna flip out because he cares about you. But I need to get my point across.
Yeah.
So,
It very well could be her.
and
They also mentioned that they're going to be taking a hard left turn from the comics, which that would be a complete opposite from what happens in the comics. Yes, Maggie has a baby and all that, but they already have a baby in Judith.
right.
And they've let her live, which did not occur. So
And the other thing that which is kind of funny is in the last Talking Dead, they interviewed one of the one of the producers, and we're talking about how Maggie just cut her hair, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, she's gonna die!" And because she got a haircut and blah, 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 or whatever, and she's like, "It was just a haircut," and like she was fine, and like so everyone's not, everyone's kind of coming down, and it's like, "Oh well, she's fine." I don't think she's fine.
Well, it was short in the comics too, though.
Right,
which is
but
why she's saying she cut it because it was short in the comics.
yeah, well.
But anyway, I don't know.
I think it
There's
was
a
all.
lot of
I think it
reason.
was all a ruse.
There's also the whole like Eugene theory because
I think Eugene would
he's
be the
had
safe bet.
he's had his major transformation.
Mm-hmm.
His story may be told. He's given, they had the goodbye kind of moment where, Abraham said, "I'd let you drive the truck now," and he gave the plans for making bullets to Rick. So everyone's kind of said their farewells to him, which may make it too obvious of a choice.
Yeah, that's that's my reasoning. Is like if it does go to that, it's like we always see this as like, okay, this person's gonna die next because they've had their story has come full arc, or they've had some coming to Jesus thing or whatever, and
Now,
everyone said goodbye.
Eugene in the comics is still going strong.
Right.
That which doesn't mean a darn thing. Abraham died in the comics just
right.
around the time that Denise died. He got the heir to the guy instead of Denise.
God,
So
we cannot get rid of Abraham. Like just his one-liners make every episode. Just bring every episode back. I mean, he had porch dick. He's son of no. He had what'd you
bitch
say?
nuts.
Bitch nuts. What the bitch?
Who's Deanna?
Who's Deanna?
Yeah. He provides some much needed comic relief.
Right. And so does Eugene.
And Eugene does.
And I
too.
feel like they're a good pair. If they killed off Sasha, what do you think that would do to
I don't know.
Abraham?
Because Abraham's just starting to get this new lease on life kind of thing. He thinks it would be they just started dating and here he is saying,
He's like,
"Hey, maybe we should have a kid."
let's
What?
do it.
I know, right? They just kind of got together. I mean, he and he's sitting there talking about, hey, I could do what Glenn and Maggie did. We could have some kids.
I can do that.
Right. I can pour the Bisquick.
I can pour the Bisquick.
Anyway.
Oh, I don't think she would be like a strong enough character to destroy and like have their group go, oh my god.
Really care that much?
No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think her character is like that.
She's not
that
really
prominent.
had her. Yeah, she's not really had her own in the.
Which
I think makes maybe her safe because there's hopefully more to
Sasha. And you can kind of in the what we talked about earlier with the group. The group or the show is going to take a hard turn from the comic. In the comic, they're still at Alexandria, so I mean they could kill Sasha, and the hard turn could be maybe Rick and the group go on the run to try and escape Negan's group. That would be a hard turn.
I don't see that happening.
But I'm just like, you agree that that would be a hard turn from the comic? Like, okay, now we're out in front of the comic. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I don't know. I still think it's Maggie, and I still I think they're going to go back to Alexandria, and they're going to with their tail between their legs, and I just hope we don't get Farmer Rick back. I don't want Farmer Rick. I hated that. Like at the prison when he's like, "Oh, I'm done. I'm out of the circle." That was dumb.
Okay.
About that same time, we lost Carol too. We didn't lose her, but she was excommunicated, right? Or no, that was afterwards. Anyway, so that is Walking Dead. We don't know who got bashed in. All we can do is speculate. So Fear the Walking Dead starts next week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited because I think this season's gonna be really good.
I hope so.
Close quarters on the boat. You're really going to get to know the characters, I think. It's going to spend a lot of time with the characters.
We get a talking Fear.
Talking Fear.
Afterwards.
Is it after each episode, I think? Yeah. Awesome.
I
think that goes a long way, too. I really do. I think the two shows together make a good couple.
Yeah. And we also get Game of Thrones back soon this month.
Yeah, end of April.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's April 24th, to be exact. The same night as our podcast or tournament. Did you want to talk about Once Upon a Time?
I don't even remember what happened.
That's terrible. Zelina and
that's
Belle
right. The little love story. The little love story between Hades and Zelina, which I actually really kind of enjoyed.
Really?
Yes. Did you not like
green
it?
Babies?
I don't know. I kind of, you have to wonder if Hades is faking it, but I kind of think maybe he's not.
I think he is.
You think so?
He's a faker. He's a devil. Well, not the devil.
He is. I mean, he is the Lord of the Underworld or whatever. Anyway, I don't know. I just don't think he's faking it, and I think that would be the one thing. They're trying to figure out how to defeat Hades, and he had mentioned the fact that he would be able to go back to Olympus with True Love's kiss or whatever. So I think if Zelina gives in to him and kisses, maybe the whole underworld thing will be gone. They'll be free to go back home, and that'll be the season.
So if
that's
how
they defeat.
So if the underworld goes away, does that mean the dead rise in the world?
I don't think the underworld necessarily goes away.
So
I
who's
just think
running
it's
the
not
underworld?
necessarily ruled by anybody.
Oh.
People can maybe I don't know. People can maybe go on to figure out what it is that it's basically a purgatory.
Right.
It's not hell. I mean, there's worse that they can go to.
I can send you from the fiery depths of this underworld to the fiery depths of hell.
Right. Or they can cross over.
Right, and go to heaven or whatever.
Or Mount Olympus or whatever the heck
that's
it is
or whatever they believe.
Right. So, I think if Hades weren't there, I would think that those people can just hang out there in purgatory until they either solve their unfinished business or they're just stuck there. Right now, Hades is kind of making it unfair, or he's been trying to. Our main group of people have been there helping people cross over and finish their unfinished business. But I think basically Hades' plan is, hey, get as many here and make it unfair and impossible for them to
Right.
cross over to the other side. So, yeah.
Yep. Better Call Saul was good this last episode. We're starting to see more and more of Saul come out of Jimmy. Essentially, this is the Saul and or Jimmy and God, what's her name? Kat? I think her name's Kat. I think. I don't
I
know.
haven't watched enough of
His
it.
girlfriend, the chick on the show. It's terrible. I can't remember her name. They buy their building or their storefront or whatever, so they can run their two businesses side by side, not together. Um, I'm just gonna call her Kat because I don't know what else to call her.
The blonde chick.
The blonde chick. It'd be great if you could look that up for me. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so she puts in her resignation with Howard, and basically he knows it's coming or whatever. And as soon as she walks out, she calls her big client or whatever, and Kim, that's it. Let me start with K. So Kim calls the big client, and this is kind of like her way of to jump starting her career as a law officer, or like not law officer, her own business essentially in law, and HM, like the company she used to work for, basically pulled the client back out from under her. So the episode ended on a pretty dark note. But Jimmy actually went in, and since he found out that they pulled it out from under Kim, he went in and sabotaged some of their paperwork. So change around dates, change around names, change different things to kind of sabotage like their all their information for their client. So, and we've seen this before where he's kind of acted on Kim's behalf without her consent in a kind of gray area, and she did not like it at all. So I think this is, there's only two episodes left in this season. So yeah, it's you can start to see him more and more, and she knows that he's gonna run his business this way. This is why she said, "Hey, you know what? We can, before I say yes, I want to run my, combine our businesses. Are you gonna be, are you gonna do it this way? Or are you gonna do it this? Are you gonna be kind of not shady, but I can't remember what the word they used were.
Colorful.
Colorful, yeah, colorful." And he goes, "You know what? Every time I start something where I tell them I'm going to do it the right way, I always mess it up. So I am going to be colorful." So, and that kind of gives her like, okay, well, we're going to split. We can, rent the building together, one roof, share office kind of thing. But I run my practice the way I want it, and you run your practice the way you want it. So she knows that he's going to be colorful. It's interesting you remembered that. So anyway, so the season's it's coming to a close. It'll be interesting to see where it ends up. Mike is doing more and more bigger deals for his daughter-in-law and his goddaughter or granddaughter. So because they just bought a new house and they had to move because like Tuco's grandfather, and it was just all sorts of bad stuff. So I can't believe you remember the word colorful, but you don't remember who Tuco is.
I know who that is, but I haven't seen. I've only seen like 2 or 3 episodes of Better Call Saul ever. So.
Oh, okay. Well, these people are from Breaking Bad.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also missed a lot of Breaking Bad because you watched it while I was asleep.
So it's a good series. Like I say every week, it's a great series. It's good backstory into some of your favorite characters. So it doesn't seem as detached as like Fear the Walking Dead to Walking Dead. This is more of, you've got some familiar faces and some really good backstory, great acting, great storytelling. So it's a little easier to digest, I think, than Fear the Walking Dead. And then I've got on here Gotham, which was a rerun last week, which is okay because it was a rerun that I didn't see when we were off. But a new episode will be airing this Monday. So talks about, I think this one's about Penguin and his stepdad, and his dad was murdered or was getting murdered by his stepmother and all this other stuff, and it's just
I'm in the process of getting murdered.
it's in the process of getting murdered. Like it's a long con. Like he comes into it like Penguin literally comes into this family like this. His dad's like this wealthy bachelor or whatever, and like his I guess it's not really his wife, but it's his mate, I guess. Is like sabotaging his
Girlfriend?
Yeah, his girlfriend, I guess, and her kids are sabotaging like his food and his medicine and killing this guy super slowly to make it seem like it was a natural death. Well, now that Penguin's in the picture, he's going to be the heir to to everything that they're working so hard to kill. So they're like, we need to kill him now or whatever. So yeah, so Penguin finds out about that, which it's interesting because Penguin was released from Arkham as a sane, like non-violent person, which he is completely non-violent. They've turned him around, which is awesome. But I think this might be something that sets him back. This is truly like when his mom died, it kind of set him in this huge tirade. And this is his father, his long lost father. He's never known him. He's only been with him for like a month or two now, and you kill him. I think he's gonna kind of send him off the deep end, and we're gonna get our old friend Penguin back. So, Gordon escaped from prison. Jim Gordon was in prison, and I didn't realize this, but I was looking because kind of like what you do with Walking Dead, and look at the wikis or whatever. I find myself doing this all the time because I'll hear a name in the show Gotham. I'm like, God, that sounds so familiar. And like I'll look it up, like, oh, okay, that's who that is. Jim Gordon's wife, I thought was Barbara Gordon, which in the show it is. So I looked up some backstory on her because she plays an evil ass character, like very evil. And I'm like, maybe she's some type of villain that I never got to watch or whatever. But it turns out that Barbara Gordon is Batgirl. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. Is Batgirl's a superhero?
Yeah, well, I remember Alicia, in Batman and
Robin,
Alicia Silverstone, who plays Batgirl, her name was Barbara. I don't recall what her last name was in that, though.
Right.
But she was Alfred's granddaughter, niece, something along those lines. She was related to Alfred.
Right. So I'm like,
in that show.
Right. So and we've talked about this before, where this Gotham series, it's got some really, really neat integration with the characters and how they develop and stuff like that. But I don't know how canon it is. Like the fact, and we talked about last time, like Bruce Wayne and Poison Ivy and Catwoman all have this connection when they were younger, but in the movies and in the comics later on in life, they don't recognize each other. How many people are going around with the last name or with the first name Ivy, and then you meet a super villain that's named Poison Ivy? Like, come on.
I know a couple Ivies.
I don't know. But in Gotham, really, that happens to like plants. Like, I don't know. I just
at any rate,
I don't know. I just think I don't know. I gotta look into it a little bit further. So,
but there's a lot of different Batmans and Superman. I mean,
there isn't just one
comic books. There's a lot of different universes, kind of.
Right. I guess that's one thing that that's probably one reason I never got into comics. Like, I want one storyline,
yeah.
And then they like mix up like.
There's like the Amazing Spider-Man, and then there's the. I don't know.
Yeah, then Spider-Man.
Yeah.
No, I gotcha.
And the stories don't necessarily coincide.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah, Spider-Man is actually a really good example because he gets bit by the spider, and in some of the lore he has the ability to shoot web out of his arms. In the old cartoons he had to have cartridges. They were things that he built to shoot web.
So more like Batman, where he didn't really have powers necessarily.
Well, he could walk up walls and things like that, which is what he gained in his spider sense, is what he gained from the radioactive spider bite. But like him actually shooting web was a contraption that he built that a high school photographer built.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was just a way to put in limitations for him because he'd have to, if he ran out, he wouldn't, like, well, shit, what am I going to do now? And he would always run out at the most inconvenient times. So, anyway, all right, you got anything else you want to talk about?
Nope.
All right, dudes and duets. I just said duets. Dudettes.
That's not a whole lot better, but anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that was episode 190. Thanks for watching. If you missed us or would like to watch us every Wednesday, we start at 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/BC podcast. Make sure you follow us on there so you can see when we go live. All of our shows actually are on this channel, so we have a show on every other Tuesday, which might actually be going to every Tuesday. It's the first and third Tuesdays of the month right now, called Mana Drained. That's where Magic Vice and I talk about Magic the Gathering. It's the trading card game. We go pretty deep into it, but it's a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, or if you've ever thought about playing, it's a great way to get into it. We do streaming on here, so I think once I'll probably plug in some Quantum Break here, and we'll do some streaming after the show. But all of our shows go up on our YouTube page, so you can check out those shortly after we record them. That is youtube.com/72DPI online. You can catch out most of our old shows on there. On Twitter, we're at BC Podcasts. Make sure you follow us there. Share, like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff that tells your friends and family that you like what we do. Leave a comment in the comment section. Anything else you want to talk about?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Well, we'll be back next week. Angel will have some more her first impressions of Quantum Break. And yeah, we'll have some fun. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.